As you know, Biden has ordered his top political opponent to be arrested.
Former President Donald Trump warned his supporters Monday that more indictments against him are coming. He said his legal team is ready for an impending indictment from the Department of Justice for his actions in connection with January 6th and the riots that took place.
Meanwhile, Fulton County, Georgia's District Attorney Fani Willis says that after working on an election investigation for 2.5 years, it's over, and she's ready to move to the next phase, which could hold Trump and other high-profile officials culpable for election tampering. Let's listen.
Well, I mean, I've made a commitment to the American people, but most importantly, the citizens of Fulton County, that we were going to be making some big decisions regarding the election investigation, and that I would do that before September the 1st of 2023, and I'm going to hold true to that commitment. The work is accomplished. I mean, we've been working for 2.5 years. We're ready.
Now, the Democrats, I think, wrongly, from a strategic perspective, focused so much of the Trump's threat to democracy discourse around the actual events of 1/6, which was not threatening democracy.
We already litigated it. He was impeached for it, and they did not remove him from office.
But arguably, the real story was always that Donald Trump made these efforts to reach out to secretaries of state to try to get them to, quote, find the vote. Specifically, Brad Raffensperger, on this now famous call that I got to say is a little less than perfect, he told him, I just want you to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have. So he specifically said to Raffensperger—
Maybe he's just articulating his heart's desire.
He not only
telling him to do anything specifically. Like, I want a magic pony or something. I'm not illegally suggesting
election tampering.
I don't know.
Right. So when
trying to present the other side.
When Raffensperger, to his credit, politely pushed back and said, your information is wrong, Mr. President. We don't have those votes. Donald Trump also, depending on your interpretation of these words, offered a soft threat to Raffensperger for not doing so. He said, quote, you know what they did and you're not reporting it. Speaking of Trump's belief that there was election fraud. You know that's criminal. That's a criminal offense, and you know you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk. So the presumption is that the case in Florida, which many people have been predicting is going to be one of the stronger of all of the cases, is going to focus on whether or not there was some kind of election tampering charge that can attach to Trump's statements on this recorded call.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
What if he sincerely believes, based on what Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell and Steve Bannon, et cetera, told him, they said millions of votes stolen, there's all this fraud, look at these people who are not credible, who are wrong, making these accusations, and Trump really believed it, and he really believed there were more votes for him in Georgia, and that these people were just incompetent or maybe even in league with the people trying to, rig the election against him, and he was sincerely saying, I know those votes are there, I read True the Vote, I saw that video, however many mules, the whatever video, and I really believe it, and you got to find me those votes because they exist, and you should suffer criminal consequences if you can't, because that would be illegal and you're trying to steal the election from me. What if that was sincere?
Well,
and he's wrong,
okay.
But
let's play this out.
Okay.
I do think that argument works a little better if he were saying, my sources tell me, the experts tell me that we have millions of votes.
The experts, we can't question them.
We need all of these votes. But I think it undermines his case a little bit when he says specifically, I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
Well, now we're criticizing the unfortunately too direct manner in which Trump makes demands. I don't know.
If I thought I won an election by millions of votes that were not being tabulated because of voter fraud, I would say,
I think he does believe that.
We need to find millions of votes. I need you to come up with, by hook or by crook, one more vote than it would take to beat Joe Biden in the state.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's the argument that will have to be made. Obviously, with all of these indictments, we hear a lot. I was reflecting on this over the weekend. I was on Fox News talking about Trump indictments. And, we always hear from a lot of career prosecutors. The people brought on TV to discuss all these charges are prosecutors. You know this from the legal world, your experience there, that prosecutors are very good at laying out why this is a slam dunk case and why the guilt is overwhelming. And, okay, but he does get to make a defense. And we don't often hear from defense attorney-minded people who will, poke holes in some of the in the certainty being projected that Trump's going away for life, and the criminality is just so obvious, and it's as it is in the hush money payment and the boxes and the election stuff and January 6th. It's also certain. That's what we're being told. Maybe that's the case, but he does get to make a defense. We haven't really heard the defense
I
yet.
really do hear that. But at the same time, there were some, I think, less partisan legal experts that even earlier this year, when most of these, if not all of these indictments were just anticipated, who did anticipate boxes in Georgia is going to be stronger than Stormy Daniels. Right off the bat, there were people, even Democratic acolytes, who acknowledged that that was going to be one of the weaker cases, and these were going to be the stronger cases. So that being said, I don't think this is going to be something that's easily beaten. In a New York Times write-up from a while back, they described the state law that Trump might have violated. It's a felony to, quote, solicit, request, command, importune, or otherwise attempt to cause another person to engage in election fraud by urging election officials to find votes that were not legally cast for him. Mr. Trump could be prosecuted under that law, said a criminal defense attorney and a public defender in Atlanta. At the same time, that legal expert said that recording alone is enough to launch an investigation and probable cause to issue an indictment. It seems like we're there. Or Donald Trump, at least, is anticipating that we're going to be there. Fonnie Williams, the district attorney, says that we're there, and we'll find out shortly what the specifics of the charges actually are. But at very least, Donald Trump is going to have to offer some explanation in a legal context other than, oh no, I totally believed we have the votes, because I don't know that that's passing muster.
Well, CNN's Caitlin Collins tweeted out Trump's ongoing tirade about his possible indictment. He posted a seeming angry message on Truth Social, writing, quote, "I assume that an indictment from deranged Jack Smith and his highly partisan gang of thugs pertaining to my peacefully and patriotically speech will be coming out any day now as yet another attempt to cover it up. All of the bad news about bribes, payoffs, and extortions coming from the Biden camp. This seems to be the way they do it. Election interference, prosecutorial misconduct." So,
the projection, saying that someone else is doing election interference when you are
he's doing patriotically.
Okay. Let's not also lose the scope of what the broader kind of scheme was here. When I opened by saying I think the Democrats made a huge misstep by focusing on the kind of ruckus of the day of 1/6 as opposed to the broader plan, remember that the only thing that really threatened the outcome of the election was not the idea that, people occupying Congress would prevent government functioning or election results being verified. It's the idea that if you cannot get to sufficient electoral votes, if you get enough of these secretaries of states, and there were some around the country who were willing to go along with Trump, but if you get enough secretaries of states to do what Raffensperger wouldn't and not certify election results, then the mechanism is for the House to pick the president. If the House picks the president and they vote by state as opposed to by kind of the representative populations that the House members reflect, by state delegations, you're in a place where the electoral map that advantages the larger number of red states versus the larger population in blue states can basically just elect the president, ignoring the popular will of the people. So that is the plan. And people have been concerned in the years after 2020 that as conservatives have really had their eye on the ball and have been paying a lot of attention to the allegiances of who gets elected to these Secretary of State positions, that there are more people now in those positions than there were back in 2020 who might be willing to go along with this sort of a plan if Donald Trump were in this position again. And so, I think that is something that really is terrifying to a lot of Democrats, something that should have been emphasized throughout, beyond just the shamans and flag waving and window breaking of the day of 1/6, because that's what really presented the ostensible threat to democracy that Democrats have been talking so much about.
All right, we'll have more Rising right after this. Stay tuned.